heroes ever, the Legion of Doom, were demoted to the opening match. Vince wanted them to perform early, before Hawk's condition got any worse. Despite the grand entrance and the massive crowd, this was a team falling apart in real time. Immediately after the match, Hawk disappeared. Part in real time.
His nose is bigger than that, boy.
Yo, dick small, cuz.
I'm a child, nigga, a nose.
just never in the bank. I ride or die before I walk the plank. Yo.
Currently in the pen for tax evasion. Free my jiggers. Shout out to Martin and Tabitha. Currently in the pen for tax evasion. Free my jiggers. Mad. Riding round in a rover. If I see ops and it's over, I'll send man straight to Jehovah when I take shots like M. Sharapova. Doing up tennis. Call man Dennis, I'm a menace. Doing up olives in Venice. Big man ting, I'm bigger than Venice. Stop it. Otherwise, unknown P might bash man's head straight down like a boppet. So make like a Frodo and hop it. Your girl is 4'4" and got bare hair on her toes like a hobbit. If I see her in the club, then I'm doing up AJ the way that I weave and bob it. Shout out to Martin and Tabitha, currently in the pen for tax evasion. Free my jiggers. Mad. Riding round in a rover. If I see ops and it's over, I'll send man straight to Jehovah when I take shots like M. Sharapova. Doing up tennis. Call man Dennis, I'm a menace. Doing up olives in Venice. Big man ting, I'm bigger than Venice. Stop it. Otherwise, unknown P might bash man's head straight down like a boppet. So make like a Frodo and hop it. Your girl is 4'4" and got bare hair on her toes like a hobbit. If I see her in the club, then I'm doing up AJ the way that I weave and bob it. Shout out to Martin and Tabitha, currently in the pen for tax evasion.
He said they're currently in the pen for tax evasion. Free my jiggers. That's funny as hell. Oh my god. Yeah.
I'm no monster. When people read about me, I was just a boy. I was just a little kid. I had no one to protect me. I had no publicity firm to protect me. I'm just a poor black, what they call in America, a nigger from the streets. I'm nobody. I'm probably a famous person in France and here, but you know, we have different racial laws here than we have in France, perhaps. People look at me differently because I'm not from a highly social background or no social status. You know, I'm not no educated man, and I'm just a person that was blessed to have skills, and I'm not, but still that I'm that way, I'm a blessed person, I'm still a grassroots person, and my grassroots background, we don't back down from anyone, and that's what got me in trouble. I don't play games, I don't kiss anyone's ass, and I'm a real man, and that's regardless of being a fighter, I'm a man, and that's why I want to be a man. And if I die, I want to die, man. I don't want to die, bitch. Little fucking poodle in the street. Like they treat most fighters. And fighters get abused by these guys, and they talk to these guys, and fighters still talk to these guys like nothing happened. I'm no monster. When people read about me, I was just a boy. I was just a little kid. I had no one to protect me. I had no publicity firm to protect me. I'm just a poor black, what they call in America, a nigger from the streets. I'm nobody. I'm probably a famous person in France and here, but you know, we have different racial laws here than we have in France, perhaps. People look at me differently because I'm not from a highly social background or no social status. You know what I mean? I'm not no educated man, and I'm just a person that was blessed to have skills, and I'm not. But still, that I'm that way. I'm a blessed person. I'm still a grassroots person, and my grassroots background, we don't back down from anyone, and that's what got me in trouble. I don't play games. I don't kiss anyone's ass, and I'm a real man, and that's regardless of being a fighter, I'm a man, and that's why I want to be a man. And if I die, I want to die, man. I don't want to die, bitch. Little fucking poodle in the street. Like they treat most fighters. And fighters get abused by these guys, and they talk to these guys, and fighters still talk to these guys like nothing happened. I'm no monster. When people read about me, I was just a boy. I was just a little kid. I had no one to protect me. I had no publicity firm to protect me. I'm just a poor black, what they call in America, a nigger from the streets. I'm nobody. I'm probably a famous person in France and here, but you know, we have different racial laws here than we have in France, perhaps. People look at me differently because I'm not from a highly social background or no social status. You know what I mean? I'm not no educated man, and I'm just a person that was blessed to have skills, and I'm not still that I'm that way. I'm a blessed person. I'm still a grassroots person, and my grassroots background.
Alright. Sorry, y'all. I was just getting distracted by shit. I'm about to go check on my clothes upstairs. I'll be back, y'all.
By 2002, wrestling fans were desperate for an alternative to WWE. WCW and ECW were dead, and nobody had successfully stepped up to challenge Vince McMahon. But Jeff Jarrett saw a chance to do something different in the wrestling business, and so he created Total Non-Stop Action. He launched with a unique pay-per-view model, where for $9.99 a week, fans could tune in and watch the show live. It was an interesting strategy, but it just didn't work. Not many fans wanted to pay for wrestling on a weekly basis, and Jarrett started to run out of money pretty fast. And that's where Dixie Carter stepped in. At the time, Dixie wasn't a wrestling promoter. She ran a sports and music management firm in Nashville, and she was doing the marketing for TNA in early 2002. She liked Jarrett and she saw potential in his company, so she convinced her dad Bob to invest. Bob Carter was the billionaire owner of Panda Energy, and his company purchased a controlling stake in TNA, immediately taking control of the business. Dixie was installed as TNA's new president, and just like that, the company was saved from going under. To begin with, Dixie was only involved in the corporate side of the business, and she left Jeff to continue running the creative side of things. In 2004, TNA got a slot on Fox Sports Net, which is when Impact was created, but TNA were actually paid later to operate the step Dixie knew that TNA was ever going to become a real competitor. It had to be on national television. In 2005, she got the opportunity. WWE had just left Spike TV, moving back to the USA network, and the
Young Wizard, come find me by the water in the commons.
Wizard!
I'm negotiations with Spike and secured one of the most important deals in TNA history. She got Impact a place on the network. This was the company's first real shot at competing with WWE. Impact being on Spike made TNA feel like it was a real alternative, and it started to attract some big names. Christian Cage signed with them shortly after leaving WWE, and Sting made the decision to sign a full-time contract with them too. And a year later, TNA pulled off one of its biggest signings ever, Kurt Angle. This was Dixie Carter's peak as president of the company. By 2009, it was in great shape. It had been profitable for a few years, its international presence was growing, and it had a strong lineup of homegrown talent and big names on the roster. TNA had a really strong identity, as it emanated from the Impact Zone in Florida every week, and the six-sided ring made it feel unique. The fans were invested and loud as well for such a small arena, and Impact was pulling around 2.5 million viewers every single week, which was a more than respectable number at the time, but soon, some of Dixie's decisions would start to raise concerns. One of her most controversial moves was getting rid of Jeff Jarrett. As I mentioned earlier, he was handling all of the wrestling side of the business because love him or hate him, that's what he was good at. He knew the wrestling industry inside out. But Jarrett had entered a relationship with Karen Angle, Kurt Angle's ex-wife. Reports from the time suggest that this caused massive tension backstage, and Kurt wasn't happy. So rather than keeping Jarrett in power, Dixie made the decision to remove him from his role in the company. He wasn't just taken off TV, he was completely stripped of influence, and he eventually left TNA, the company that he founded, entirely. And now Dixie was making all of the big calls on her own, and the next decision that she made changed the face of TNA forever, and not in a good way. Looking for a way to take TNA to the next level, she signed Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and not just as on-screen talent. She basically gave them James Joe, and the moment they arrived, they started making big changes to TNA. They got rid of the six-sided ring, which upset the loyal fans immediately, and they started signing all of their friends.
Yeah, don't crash out. And it's ironic for me to say that.
TNA in the first place. It was kind of like WCW all over again. The show was filled with older guys taking up space on TV while the younger talent faded into the background. Instead of being an alternative to WWE, TNA now looked like a retirement home for ex-WWE guys. And then Bischoff convinced Dixie to make their biggest mistake ever. TNA needs to win by nerves. Wanted to recreate the Monday Night Wars that he lost in the 90s, and it was a disaster. Impact that unfortunately but that's not all. They decided to take TNA out of the Impact zone and onto the road, but they found it difficult to sell the tickets out, and these decisions cost the company insane amounts of money. Reports suggest that TNA lost around $13 million in a matter of just a few months. And then the company supported and the quality of the show itself also started to take a nosedive. Not only had Hogan and Bischoff prioritised their old friends, they also authorised a lot of terrible storylines. Absolute nonsense like the AJ Styles and Claire Lynch storyline, and Abyss and Hogan's Magic Hall of Fame ring, and who can forget Immortal, which was another storyline that dragged on for months. All of these things alienated the dedicated fanbase that TNA had built up before Hogan and Bischoff arrived in the company. By now, TNA was struggling financially, and so Panda Energy cut off their funding. With all of the losses that they'd taken, it was no longer viable for this billion-dollar company to prop up total non-stop action. Dixie acquired their stake in the company herself, and this was her opportunity to restructure the business, but she didn't. Instead, she brought in a load more ex-WWE wrestlers, but they didn't bring the viewers back, and the ratings on TV and the pay-per-view buy rates started to go through the floor. And then she let AJ Styles walk away. For over a decade, AJ had carried TNA on his back. He was one of their few homegrown main event stars. Dixie decided to make a contract and low contract offer. It was so low, in fact, that he found it unacceptable, and so he left the company. And it wasn't just him. Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and so many other wrestlers all left around the same time. These were the stars that Dixie should have rebuilt the company around, but they all went to WWE instead. And somehow she still wasn't done making the product worse. As she started appearing on TV as a character, Dixie Carter became an on-screen authority figure in the company, playing an evil boss character similar to Stephanie McMahon. She started cutting long, sweet as she talked like a bad It was 2013 and
catch critical bugs and even catch some of my smaller mistakes. Codex reviews code just like a senior software engineer. And if I need to fix something, I
Parts in real time. Immediately after the match, Hulk disappeared into the streets of London. He hooked up with the local Hells Angels chapter, went completely AWOL and missed his flight back to the United States. While he was hanging out with the Hells Angels, he called Vince McMahon's secretary and quit the company. Animal later said that he felt deserted and irritated, and rightfully so. He stayed behind in the company to finish the team's remaining tour dates, briefly with Ed and Chris to fulfill their contract obligations. But the damage was done. What should have been told was molded to one of the biggest wrestlers of American history. Instead became the end of the Road Warriors' first WWF run. The men didn't see or speak to each other again for many years, but they eventually reconciled in Japan in 1996. They signed with WCW, but that stint only lasted about 6 months due to disputes with Eric Bischoff over Japan. And so, in February 1997, they made a surprise return to the WWF. The company was falling behind WCW in the ratings war, and Vince wanted established names to bolster the roster. Despite everything that had happened in 1992, the Legion of Doom was still a proven commodity, but their second run would prove to be even worse than the first. It started strong enough. At WrestleMania 13 in their hometown of Chicago, they teamed with Ahmed Johnson to beat the Nation of Domination in a street fight. They even got involved in the Hart Foundation rivalry, competing in the famous 10-man tag team main event at the Wheelhouse Canadian Stampede alongside Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, and John Force. And in October 1997, they defeated the Legends to capture the tag team titles for the second time. In a brief moment in the Legends' but it actually worked. The company wanted to freshen up the atmosphere, so they gave him Summit as their manager. But by the end of the year, the tone had shifted completely. They had defeated the New Age Outlaws and lost the tag team titles to them in November, just 7 weeks after winning them. The Outlaws mocked them for being too old, painting them as relics from a previous age who could paint in the modern landscape. At WrestleMania 14, the company tried once again to reinvent them. This time, they became LOD 2000. The movement featured futuristic helmets, average shoulder pads, but Hawk, unsurprisingly, despised it. He famously threw his helmet into
You did it, Wizard! Dragon Avenue saved!
They went on to win a tag team battle royal at WrestleMania 14 to earn a title shot, but they failed to recapture the gold. After Sunny left the company, Ross was added to the team, just in case Hook ever would perform. His substance abuse issues were well known by this point, and the company decided to exploit that on television. He started to appear on screen, slurring his words and stumbling around during pro-wrestling matches. They portrayed him as being unfit to wrestle, and Droz was positioned as the man to permanently replace him in the team. Hawk reportedly agreed to do the tension with Vince McMahon backstage, and it was clear that the killer animal wanted any part of it. The storyline was rock bottom.
You rescued Sue! All well.
At the press court, flying to the top of the Titan truck, seemingly threatening to commit suicide.
Now that things the cave is across the river at the far end of Triton Avenue. Let's go and...
I'm good. The then pushed forward off to the edge of the set. The episode continued a few weeks later with his arm in a cast, but the angle went so badly that the storyline was soon forgotten. Their final televised appearance came in March 1999 on Raw, where they failed to beat Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett for the tag team titles. There was no creative payoff or dramatic ending. The legendary duo simply reached the end of the road in the WWF. The most dominant tag team in wrestling history had been mishandled, exploited, and discarded by Vince McMahon. Following Hawk's death in 2003, Animal returned to WWE in 2005 with a new partner, Hayden Robb. He was given a mohawk, face paint and straight shoulder pads to complete the look. They won the tag team titles and Animal dedicated the victory to Hawk, and the whole thing was offensive to the spirit of the original team. Even after everything, WWE still couldn't get the Road Warriors right, and it felt like a final insult to their legacy.
Oh, hi! Hello! Hola! Guess I got a leprechaun, let's fucking go. And I got a death treasure card. Yay! But hello. Get, no. Hello. Yeah, I've just been going back playing games I haven't played in a while.
Triton Avenue's not going to explode? Well,
What does
I should
Skechers'
hope
new
not.
Aeroburst and
Sounds like
Skechers
things
race
are
car
getting
have in
sorted
common?
out. What a relief.
Hypersonic
Thanks, Wizard.
A time when the WWF was filled with outlandish gimmicks, Papa Shango stood out as one of the strangest characters in wrestling history. He was supposed to strike fear into the hearts of fans everywhere, but it wasn't long before they rejected him completely. The WWF had introduced spooky characters before, the most successful being The Undertaker. He debuted at the 1990 Survivor Series, and within a year he'd beaten Hulk Hogan for the title. Vince McMahon had struck gold with a supernatural gimmick that the fans actually bought into, and you can't blame him for wanting to replicate that success. That's where Charles Wright came in. He was a 6'6", 330-pound former college football player who was bartending in Las Vegas when he was spotted by a group of pro wrestlers. They were impressed by his size, and they suggested that he give the wrestling business a try. They recommended him train at Larry Sharp's Monster Factory, which had a reputation for developing excellent female wrestlers. Former alumni included Bam Bam Bigelow, Yvonne Newton, and Tony Atlas. Charles picked up the business from marketing quickly, so Carter to respect right from the start, which got him work in the USWA while he was still training. Wrestled with the name of Soul Tanker until October 1992, he was the heavyweight champion after beating Jim Warner. He also teamed up with Mark Calloway just a year before his debut. He was the Undertaker. Calloway recommended Charles to Vince McMahon, and at the end of 1998, made his first WWF appearance under the name Sir Charles. McMahon wanted him to be a heel, but he quickly influenced Tony Parker and told him that everybody was a monster, which this was too friendly. It wasn't going to work, but McMahon wasn't doing it yet. He sent Charles home with full pay and told him to wait by the clock while the creative team came up with something new. A few weeks later, Vince called him back and told him to go and rent the James Bond movie, Live and Let Die, and to watch it carefully. McMahon wanted Charles to study the character of Baron Samedi, the voodoo villain from the film. Papa Shango was to be an evil voodoo witch doctor, and Charles took the task of becoming him extremely seriously. He took a trip down to New Orleans to conduct field research, where he visited voodoo shops and met with actual practitioners. In an interview, Charles said, "I used to read books on voodoo. In fact, I built an entire voodoo real and legit. It was totally authentic. They sent me to New Orleans. Spells. In February 1992, Papa Shango made his televised debut on an episode of Superstars.
Die. Yes. Yes.
Watching at home and legitimately scared, and once the coat and hat came off, he was an impressive monster. He dismantled jobber after jobber during those first few weeks, keeping him undefeated in every televised match. McMahon was said to be extremely happy with the
haunted cave.
things planned for the Voodoo
Yes.
Master. Just 2 months after his debut, Papa Shango's decision that was a remarkably fast push and showed how much McMahon believed in the character as a top-tier attraction.
You made it! Good! I was right.
I mean, shit, the last time I played this was like, before today, the last time I played it was like 3-4 months ago. And I wanted to play it again. Just fizzle, bitch. What? How did that only do 84 shits? Oh my god, why does this nigga almost have 400 health? Fuck.
Because the Undertaker had just turned babyface, which left the space for a terrifying referee counted to 3, causing a disqualification, which would trigger the surprise
Fuck.
which was virtually unheard of at the time. Seeds manager Harvey Whipple had to trigger the disqualification by jumping on the ring apron, and then Shango finally showed up. A Harvey Whipple's answer reported Charles Wright. He was told to wait at the curtain for a specific cue, but the cue was given too late. The production team misjudged how long it would take to run the very long entrance aisle at the Who's in the Dome. I was told to go too late, and they underestimated the length of the aisle. Even Warrior said later that night that he had to horse serious ass to get there on cue. He used to run to the ring every night, but never like that. The problem is they knew I was green, so they told me not to go until they gave me the signal. And so, for whatever reason, I got the cue late. I'm there at the curtain like a track star getting ready to run, and it was a long way. So then they started yelling at me to go, and I went. Once I got there, I was like, oh shit, what's going on? Because I wasn't watching the monitors. This could have been fatal for Charles. Warrior after WrestleMania, quitting the company. That meant Papa Shango was moved into the feud with Warrior instead. This should have been his
Let's go, you got it, thank you. Girl, that long ass tongue. That long ass tongue. Motherfucker, I forgot what that one Pokemon was, but it's the short one with like the beady eyes and that long tongue. I forgot what his name was. But that bat looks like that nigga. What? What is that? I've never seen that kind of snake in this shit. How did that only do 90? What? Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, die! Damn! What the fuck is that? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Are you serious right now? Sorry. Piece of shit. You piece of fuck. Give me that ore. Yes. Please, not another battle. Give me the fucking health. Yes. I got the three. What? What the fuck? I got to defeat 3 of these field guards. Well, I only need to defeat 1 because I defeated the other 2. Yeah, I don't got many spells that can be effective. I want to use a ghoul, but I can't use a ghoul yet because I have to wait. Yes. That's the type of shit that happens. That long ass tongue. What the fuck was he biting? His cock? Fuck was that? Man's gonna get on my nerves. My god. My god. He a munch? Oh my god. Oh my god. Haha, you fizzle bitch. No, it's time to end you. Die. Die. Yes. 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 Yeah! Yeah! Die! That was the Edward Richtofen. I don't know if you remember that, but he's like, when he's like, yeah, yeah, die! Like, this shit.
You did well. They're minions.
Man, complete the fucking... Okay, I got 800 gold. Yay. Damn. Wait, what the fuck? Droopy McBottoms? What kind of fucking shit is that?
You hear a strange noise.
Hello!
Welcome, student of the Death School. I shall now bestow some of my knowledge from the beyond upon you. Train well.
Have to mow the club. They is on some snake shit. Mow the club. Human. Fuck. Do. Yeah, Mama been streaming for 3.5 hours. The reason why it doesn't look like that is because I had to do a second section.
All over the attending doctor. While it may have been terrifying for all the kids in the audience, it was a real stretch for adults to suspend their disbelief over this. This really was one of those moments that went down in wrestling history for all the wrong reasons. Over the following weeks, Shango made a black substance oozed from Warrior's forehead during an interview segment, and then he cursed Mean Gene for making the same black stuff leak from his sleeve for some reason. At one point, he even lit a jogger's boots on fire. These tricks started to get really lame and boring, and rather than being shocking or scary, fans just weren't buying into the gimmick at all. The character was originally intriguing, but they went too far with this stuff. It was all too literal, unlike The Undertaker's mysterious supernatural aura, which left things to the imagination. Shango's magic was explicit and over the top, but the feud could still have been salvaged with a proper payoff. A big match at a pay-per-view would have at least given fans some closure after all the ridiculous shenanigans. Instead, the men faced each other repeatedly on the house show circuit, where Warrior predictably beat the Papa every single time. The feud never got a proper ending on TV, and Warrior just moved on to his feud with Randy Savage, going into SummerSlam. The character really was tainted from this moment
Damn.
November 1992, he got one final shot at the top on Saturday night's main event, where he challenged the Hitman for the WWF title. It was actually a very good match, and Charles Wright was a very capable wrestler, but the fans just had no interest in Papa Shango by this point. At the Royal Rumble, he was eliminated from the match in under 30 seconds. The WWF ended up
You're
sending
catching
Wright
it.
to
What?
USWA in Memphis
No.
to try and hone the character, but it was of no use. By the
I don't even know if there's...
Charles was going through an ugly divorce and was in a bad place.
I named it Smelly Madison. I don't know why.
He was getting into real fights outside the ring, and things were spiraling out of control. Charles eventually decided to step away.
I don't know why I named it Smelly Madison. I don't know why. I think I was high as shit when I named my cat that. When I named this cat that. I think I was high as shit.
Karma was almost the exact opposite gimmick of Papa Shango. But incredibly, the WWF was seriously thinking about bringing Papa Shango back at the end of 1997.
I ain't gonna lie, today my ass tried to order a pizza, but it didn't work out. Cause they never came. They never came. It was delivery. I didn't have to pay them until they showed up, but they never did. So I got to keep my money. What I'm probably gonna do, I'm probably gonna go to like County Market and get like ingredients and stuff, and then I'm gonna make like a home. I'm probably gonna make like a mostly homemade stuff for people. I'm gonna get like mozzarella sticks and shit. I'm gonna get like nacho cheese and use that as the sauce. I'm gonna get some like bacon bits and some pepperoni slices. I'm gonna put it on that shit. Yeah, and put jalapenos on it too. Oh my god, delicious. It may not be nutritious, but it is delicious. I know it's gonna be delicious. I just know it. Damn. Motherfucker gas. Ass whooped, cuh. Spell deck. Oh, I found diamond! Oh my god! Can I miss wood? Yes. Come here, boy. I'm gonna get you.
So close to bringing the character back that Charles did photo shoots and makeup tests with the new costume. One proposal had Shango revealed as the mystical force responsible for the Undertaker's resurrection.
And shit, the thing is, I don't even have to get flour because I found out something you can do. I found out you can use like those jumbo biscuit things. You can actually use those as a pizza crust. Little bit. And then I'll probably get some like pepper jack shredded cheese. Yes. It's gonna be so delicious. Yes. Yes. Like kill it? Yes. Treasure card. Wait, what? No! Oh my god! I didn't want to fight you again, bitch. I was trying to look at my inventory. But since you want the smoke, you're gonna get it. You the bitchy little whore. Yes, breathe that fire on that boy. Please, could this please be the final blow? Pause. Die. What? You gotta be fucked. Ow. You're gonna get it now, boy. Die. Ugh. Supplements. Ooh, wow. How do I make that? But I'll be back, audience. I gotta go check my laundry. Lol. Go. back. This nigga. Good, good.
As a member of the Ministry of Darkness, or even as the mysterious higher power, it certainly would have been a better reveal than what they actually got. Charles even showed up to a TV taping ready to go, but Vince pulled him to one side and told him there'd been a change of plans. For some reason, they convinced me to come back as Papa Shango, but it was going to be a lot different. The makeup was different. Jerry Lawler had done the face paint. I'd lost a lot of weight, looking good, different outfit. I showed up to TV and I said, Vince wants to talk to you. He told me there'd been a change of plans. They were going to put me in the Nation of Domination instead. The company had decided to debut Kane, and management felt the roster couldn't support 3 supernatural characters all at the same time. Eventually, he became the Godfather, and that gimmick suited him far better than the Voodoo Papa. Back in 1992, Vince McMahon wanted another Undertaker, and on paper, Papa Shango should have worked. Both of them were large, imposing supernatural characters that pushed the boundaries of believability, but only one of them succeeded, and the difference came down to belief. The Undertaker had support from management, and that belief translated into how he was booked. He was protected from losses and presented as an unstoppable force, but Shango had none of that. Pat Patterson despised the gimmick from the start, calling it a total embarrassment, and he was the one who put the character terminated. And while the Undertaker's supernatural presence was mysterious and restrained, Shango's voodoo was far too literal. Vince McMahon went way too hard with the supernatural tricks from the very start. He would end up doing the same thing with the Undertaker's character down the line, but not at the very start, when he was still being established. And unlike Mark Calloway, Charles Wright just didn't enjoy playing the character. The reports and rumours of me hating the gimmick are true. It's because Shango is so dark, so demanding, and it took so much out of me that it was exhausting. I wish I wasn't so green in the business at the time, because I could probably have been better at being Papa Shango, like I was at playing Kamala. I probably could have been a better Papa Shango, but I had no idea what I was stepping into. Going from a country tobacco chewing, country music listening, old truck driving biker to a voodoo man, it was a stretch. Today I have a pet dog, a pit bull. Do you want to know what his name is? It's Shango.
Code review with Codex feels like a safety net where I know it'll...
The Rockers were the most innovative and exciting tag team of their era. They changed tag team wrestling, bringing a fast-paced, athletic style that made everyone else look slow and outdated. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty were impossibly charismatic and insanely over with the fans.
Congratulations!
Despite all their success, they never won the WWF
Yes!
tag team title.
Fuck yes!
And in the end, it all ended in tears. Shawn
Fuck yes. Woo! Level 10 I can get the Banshee. Level 16 I can get the Vampire. Yes. Yes.
Needed a match for a television taping and threw them together at random. They clicked instantly, and before long, they were tag team champions. In early 1986, both men signed for the American Wrestling Association. The AWA was a sinking ship. The Road Warriors and Fabulous Freebirds had left, leaving a big hole in the tag team division. Territory owner Vern Gagne told them to come up with a team name, and the duo settled on the Midnight Rockers, inspired by the Judas Priest song, Living After Midnight. Their popularity in the territory went through the roof during a violent feud with Buddy Rose and Doug Summers, the top heel team in the company. The defining moment came in September 1986 at a showboat in Las Vegas during a match known as the AWA Bloodbath. It was a shockingly violent contest, and there was so much blood, the fans genuinely thought the Rockers were getting killed. Despite their pretty boy image, the match proved that they were exceptionally tough. WWF scout Pat Patterson saw the bloodbath in person, and he was so impressed that he immediately recommended to Vince McMahon that he sign them up. It wasn't long before the Midnight Rockers were the AWA Tag Team Champions, and they'd become the most popular act in the promotion, but the AWA was on its last legs, and the boys realised they had to move on. They signed with McMahon, dropped the tag team titles, and made their first WWF appearance in June 1987. Their one and only televised match came on an episode of Wrestling Challenge, where they defeated Jose Estrada Sr. and Jimmy Jack Funk, and then 2 weeks later, they were fired. One night after the show, Shawn and Marty hit the bar with the other wrestlers. Related to the evening, drunk Jimmy Jack Funk appeared and started getting in the boys' faces, mocking them and calling them punks who didn't belong in the WWF. He challenged Shawn to prove how tough he was, until Shawn smashed a glass over his head to shut him up. It also later transpired that Marty had been hitting on a girl in the bar that Funk was interested in. He was then extremely pissed off with the Rockers and set about trying to get rid of them. In an interview, Marty said, "The next day at the lunch line, Jimmy Jack walked right into my face, asking me what my problem was. Then he started screaming about what we did last night. All the boys were eating lunch, we really yelled at the new guys. Then he said he'd been telling everybody that he'd gone into the stars, but he was a jobber. As soon as he said that, everyone at the team just stopped. I could feel them all staring at us. Then Jimmy Jack said that Shawn had been breaking glasses all over the bar the night before, scaring the hell out of the poor bartender. The story grew as it got told to the rest of the boys. That thing about us thinking we were superstars didn't sit well with a lot of the guys, especially the ones who might have felt threatened. Terry Garvin called me the next day and said Vince was going to let us have a little time off. The incident at the bar had been exaggerated massively, and Marty and Shawn were made to look like a pair of troublemakers, and even worse, the information had got back to the boss. We flew out to Stanford to talk to Vince, which cost us $400 each for the ticket. Once we got there, Vince told us he'd heard some of the stories about what happened at the bar, and he said the boys didn't want us there, and if the boys don't want you, you can't stay. He said he was doing us a favour by letting us go. We asked for a second chance, but he said no, trust me, you don't want to stay. And so, just a month after they'd signed their contracts, Vince fired them.
Oh, these are dark times, young wizard. I must ponder our next move.
And after just 2 weeks, they were forced to go back down to the territories. They first went to the Continental Wrestling Association, but were fired after Shawn wrote something offensive on a fan's shirt during an autograph signing. Then they landed in Memphis, where they turned heel for the first time. AWA boss Vern Gagne saw their success and invited them back to the company, where they won the tag team titles for a second time. But when they asked for a pay rise and a guaranteed contract, Gagne refused, and so they quit once again, this time without having another job lined up. Marty contacted his friend Terry Garvin at the WWF to discuss their situation and basically beg for their jobs back, and shortly after, Vince called them with a an offer for a second chance. The condition was simple. They had to be on their very best behaviour. Vince also made an immediate change to their name. The Midnight Rockers were now simply known as the Rockers. They re-debuted in June 1988 and were initially placed on the lower end of the card, but their high-energy style soon made them hugely popular with the fans. Their first major feud was against the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. It was a clash of styles, old-school heel tactics versus high-flying innovation. This could have been like oil and water, but they complemented each other incredibly well. In January 1989, they wrestled at Madison Square Garden in a match that Pro Wrestling Illustrated later rated as one of the 50 greatest matches of all time.
A Chewy order is on the way for Dash, who was just rescued yesterday by Dave.
Rated as one of the 50 greatest matches of all time. Their feud with the Orient Express in 1990 and 1991 produced some of the most athletic tag team wrestling of the era. Marty later described their match at the 1991 Royal Rumble as possibly the single best tag match of his career. But despite putting on consistently great matches, they faced constant hurdles because of their size. Shawn was 6'1" and Marty was 5'11", and they were approximately 20 pounds lighter than the next smallest team on the roster. Davey Boy Smith called them midgets, and Demolition refused to lose to them clean. And the older veterans in the locker room felt like they were doing too much in the ring, which they thought made the rest of the roster look lazy by comparison. In an interview from 2000, Shawn said, "A lot of guys back in the day just went through the motions. They would tell us we were doing too much in the ring and it didn't make sense. They were all extremely lazy. When Marty and I came in, it wasn't 2 months before we were closing every show. We'd go on last, and we would go on 4th or 5th before intermission. Then we'd be gone. Marty and I closed every show, and yet we never got main event pay. I was never getting main event pay until the very end of my career." Vince McMahon himself was sceptical about pushing them to the top of the card because of their size, keeping them in mid-card matches for years despite their huge popularity. But in October 1990, it seemed that the Rockers were finally going to be validated. They were scheduled to beat the Hart Foundation for the tag team titles in a 2 out of 3 falls match being taped for Saturday night's main event. Everything was going as planned up until the second fall, when one of the ropes snapped. Without the top rope, neither team could execute all of their moves properly, and the match became a disjointed mess. But despite the chaos in the ring, there was no signal from backstage to stop, and so the Rockers went ahead and won, becoming tag team champions in the process. A few days later, they defended the belts against Peril and Glory on a head show, but it turned out to be a phantom title reign, because McMahon decided not to air the match on NBC, and he made the decision that the title change remain the tag team champions going forward. The Rockers were devastated. Titles, but Brett himself disputed that. He'd been promised a top-level singles push, and being tag team champion was a roadblock to that. He was happy to either way, Shawn and Marty that but that opportunity never came. Just a few weeks later, their fortunes went from bad to worse. In December 1990, an inexperienced wrestler named Chuck Austin was paralysed during a match with the Rockers. Austin had only had 6 weeks of training when Marty's finishing move, the Rocker Dropper, went wrong. Austin broke his neck and was paralysed, and the result was and Marty was eventually held responsible for 5% of the settlement. They were together constantly, working the same matches, most tag teams know to get away from each other, but Shawn and Marty were in each other's round the clock, and that constant proximity was wearing them down. In May 1991, everything came to a head when a Chinese vendor, an intoxicated Robert Piper, started while telling Marty that he had something missing. He became defensive, and a legitimate fight broke out between him and Sean. It got so bad that the police arrived, and Marty was about to be arrested when Randy Savage intervened. He convinced the officers that it was all part of the show, that they were working an angle for the next event, and so the police released Marty after the wrestlers agreed to give them autographs. A few months later, when the Rockers discovered that they were being paid significantly less than the other top teams in the company, with him. They handed in their notices, but when Sean asked for the WCW contact details, Marty admitted that he'd made it up, that he hadn't actually talked to anyone. He told WCW himself, and what they wanted to offer the Rockers a contract was for even less than they were this opportunity to sit both men down and told them that it was time for them to split up. Superstar with the same potential in Martin. I said look Martin, I've always told you when we first started, my ultimate goal was to have a singles career with Martin in WCW. After my own career, he was upset. He said, what's supposed to happen to me? I said, just because they're going to go with me doesn't mean you can't be a successful singles wrestler. That's the way the WWF works. If you get over, they're going to use you. It doesn't matter if they like you or don't like you. If you get over, you're going to get used. Marty later said that he felt sick as soon as he heard that, and he knew that he was about to lose not just his tag team partner, but his best friend too. That he was about to lose not just his tag team partner, but his best friend too. A few weeks later, in a scene that went down in wrestling history, Sean superkicked Marty and put him through the barbershop window. The plan was for the men to feud against each other, but Marty was arrested in Tampa following an altercation with police at a nightclub. He was charged with resisting arrest and cocaine possession, and the WWF suspended him for 6 months. He returned to face Sean at the 1993 Royal Rumble and lost. Immediately after the match, Marty was fired for allegedly being intoxicated in the ring. He denied it. He said he was tired, but certainly not drunk, and even offered to take a drugs test. Vince told him the decision was final. Marty was convinced that Sean had spread the rumour that he was drunk to cover for his own poor performance in the match. Marty was heartbroken and disappeared into a drunken spiral for 2 months, trying to drown the pain of losing his job. Eventually, Kurt Hennig went to bat for him and convinced McMahon to bring Marty back. As a punishment to Sean for lying, he was made to lose the Intercontinental title to Marty, but just a few weeks later, Sean won it back. From here, Marty drifted back to the mid-card, briefly winning the tag team titles with a 1-2-3 kid, but they lost them back just 7 days later. He was fired yet again in 1994 after being arrested on a European tour for attacking a hotel staff member. They brought him back a couple of years later to get the Rockers back together, but this time with Al Snow rather than Sean. The plan for the new Rockers was to recreate the high-flying style that had made the original team so popular, but instead of being positioned as serious contenders, they were soon turned into comedy heroes. Marty later claimed that Sean had pushed for the comedy gimmick to sabotage the reboot. While Sean was reaching the main event level, Marty was stuck in a lower card comedy tag team going nowhere. Frustrated, Marty asked for his release from the company in December 1996. Shawn Michaels went on to become WWF champion, headlined WrestleManias, and became one of the biggest stars in the history of the business. By the early 2000s, he banged on and was entering the prime years of his legendary career. Meanwhile, Marty's life was falling apart. In his years away from the WWF, his addiction to cocaine and alcohol led to repeated stints in jail, and at his lowest point, he even contemplated suicide. That's when Shawn reached out and invited him to a Christian retreat, where the two former partners finally made peace. In March 2005, the Rockers reunited on Raw for one night only, and the fans loved it. Marty went on to have a great match with Kurt Angle, and WWE signed him to a contract, but yet again, he blew it. He was arrested following a domestic incident and sentenced to house arrest, and so WWE had no choice but to release him. In 2006, they gave him yet another chance. WWE wanted to do an angle where Shawn and Marty took on the McMahon family in a main event level feud. Marty made 2 appearances, but legal restrictions stopped him from travelling, so the company changed the storyline to feature DX versus the McMahon family instead. Once again, Marty lost the opportunity. He made sporadic appearances over the next few years, including one in December 2007 for the 15th anniversary of Raw, but nothing ever came of it. Shawn Michaels, on the other hand, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. The Rockers changed tag team wrestling and influenced an entire generation, but they never reached their full potential. And as singles wrestlers, only one of them ever did. Marty was 100 times more talented than I was early on, and knew more. He had more charisma, he had more comfort out there. Marty was so important in getting my comfort level up. Marty had no inhibitions. Marty was cool with anything. Eventually, that got to a point where it didn't work in his favour, but in the ring he was so unbelievably comfortable. He's the person that got me to that comfort level. It's a shame that the other stuff happened since then. When people ask who was one of the most talented guys that never got there, I put him on the top of that list all the time, because he was unbelievably talented.
My God, why are there so many quests? Shit. There's so many quests.
You make it through security so fast? The agents applaud. Your travel itineraries are so well written, they're on the bestseller list. And you have access to lounges that don't officially exist. That's why you rank with National, where you can skip the counter and choose any vehicle on the Emerald Isle. Because travel isn't a competition. Except that it is.
I'm almost level 10, yay! Fuck. She told me eat your food. My mama smacked the shit out of me because I was being rude.
Kerry Von Erich should have been one of the biggest stars in wrestling history. He was an incredibly talented grappler that came from wrestling royalty. He held world titles and headlined the biggest shows in the business, but in the end, his whole world fell apart. Kerry's father, Fritz Von Erich, ran the Dallas territory, which at the time was called Big Time Wrestling. It was an established promotion within the NWA, and Fritz had been in control for nearly a decade. Kerry was trained by his dad, and he made his debut in May 1978. But he wasn't walking into the business alone. His older brothers, Kevin and David, had already been wrestling in the promotion for 2 years. They were the top baby faces in the company, and the fans absolutely loved them. Before Kerry even entered the ring, The Von Erich name was already the biggest draw in Texas. In July 1979, Kerry won his first championship, the NWA Texas Tag Team titles, alongside Bruiser Brody. They captured the belts in their very first match together. Kerry was being positioned as a future star, and by December 1980, he was ready. He defeated Gino Hernandez to win the NWA American Heavyweight Championship, his first major singles title. But the real breakthrough came in June 1982. At his father's retirement show, Kerry faced Harley Race, a 7-time former World Heavyweight Champion, and Kerry beat him. That victory elevated him to main event status, and it convinced the NWA that he was a legitimate contender for the world title. And so, they sanctioned a series of matches between Kerry and the reigning champion, Ric Flair. The most important of those matches came on Christmas Day, 1982. It was a steel cage match for the NWA World Heavyweight title at the Reunion Arena in Dallas. The fabulous Freebirds got involved and they turned on Kerry. Terry Gordy smashed the cage door into his head and the match was stopped. The Freebirds became the most hated heels in Texas overnight, and what followed was a brutal 5-year war between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. It dominated the promotion and became one of the most legendary feuds in wrestling history. Kerry was now the golden boy of Texas wrestling, and everything was in place for him to become a main event level superstar. He was also at his happiest in his personal life as he married his wife Catherine, and they'd soon have 2 daughters together. But at the start of 1984, the family suffered a tragedy when David Von Erich passed away in Tokyo. He'd just arrived there to start a tour for All Japan Pro Wrestling, and his body was discovered in his hotel room. The official cause of death was acute enteritis or an intestinal rupture. David was considered the most talented of all the brothers, and he was the NWA's chosen successor to Ric Flair as World Heavyweight Champion. They'd already made the decision for David to win the title and hold it long term, but now he was gone, those plans died with him. The Von Erich family took it extremely hard, and suddenly all of the pressure fell onto Kerry as it was decided that he would win the NWA title in tribute. 3 months later, in May 1984, the promotion held a tribute show in David's honour. Over 45,000 fans packed the venue to witness Kerry beat Ric Flair for the NWA World Heavyweight title. It was the biggest crowd in Texas wrestling history, and the peak of Kerry's career, but it wouldn't last. Just 18 days later, he lost the belt back to Flair in Japan. The NWA sold it as a controversial finish,
Fuck,
but
I can't get in there.
was
Shit.
far more troubling. Kerry had become unreliable. He was no-showing events thanks to a growing substance abuse problem.
Nothing gives you wings.
The hell is this?
Blink and get more with new 2K
Can I get
Plus
that?
Smart
No,
Security.
I cannot.
With Blink 2K Plus, get set up in minutes to see every detail in crisp 2.
Thanks to a growing substance abuse problem. In an interview, Flair said, Kerry was a great kid. He was just so lovable and so nice, but you could just feel there was something wrong. There were quite a few times I worked with Kerry where he was impaired. One time we were in Fort Worth and he came to the ring with his boots untied. He was 15 minutes late getting to the ring and his boots weren't laced up, and we were going an hour. The match was absolutely terrible, but because Fritz had that much influence, it came out in the paper that Kerry had a fever and didn't know where he was, and that he was brave enough to get in the ring despite being sick, but he should not have been in the ring that night. The NWA committee couldn't risk keeping the title on someone they didn't trust to even show up. David had been destined for a long reign as champion, but Kerry was only ever going to be a short-term emotional choice. For the next 2 years, Kerry remained the biggest star in world class, holding multiple titles and main eventing the promotion's biggest shows. But behind the scenes, his addiction problems were getting worse. The pressure to carry the family legacy, combined with the shame of his drug use, created a vicious cycle but he couldn't escape. By 1986, it was becoming impossible to hide what was happening to him, and in June of that year, everything came crashing down. Kerry took his motorcycle out for a ride. He wasn't wearing a helmet or any protective gear, and he was trying to pass a truck on a two-lane road when he crashed into the back of a police car. The impact nearly killed him. He suffered a dislocated hip and a crushed right foot, with doctors performing surgery to try and save it. But while he was recovering in hospital, Kerry decided that he wanted something to eat, so he got out of bed and walked on his injured foot, even though it hadn't healed. That decision caused further damage that the doctors couldn't repair, and they were forced to amputate it. Kerry now faced a choice: retire from wrestling or find a way to continue. He chose the latter and made the amputation a secret from everyone. He returned to the ring wearing a prosthetic limb that fit inside his wrestling boots, and he told people his ankle had been fused into a permanent position. To keep anyone from discovering the truth, he entered locker rooms with his boots already on, and after shows, he showered without taking them off. For the rest of his career, Kerry wrestled on just one foot, and almost nobody ever found out. In April 1987, tragedy struck the family once again when Mike Von Erich committed suicide. He was just 23 years old. This was the second brother that Kerry had lost. Kerry was already battling painkiller addiction and living with the constant stress of hiding his disability, and now he was burying another brother. The survivor guilt was overwhelming, and it cemented a dark belief in his mind that he would be next. Kerry found the physical pain of wrestling on a prosthetic foot to be unbearable, which meant his painkiller addiction kept getting worse. But despite everything, he continued to win championships. He held the world-class heavyweight title multiple times and proved that he could still perform at a high level. But at the same time, the family business was falling apart. Attendance at the Sportatorium had dropped from over 4,000 fans to less than 1,000. World Class left the NWA in 1986, partly because the organisation refused to give Kerry another world title reign due to his unreliability. The remaining brothers were no-showing events in smaller towns, and fans were becoming disillusioned as the family's clean living image started to crumble. Kerry knew that he was contributing to the decline of his dad's territory, and that knowledge ate away at him. The shame and guilt of letting everyone down created a hopeless feeling that he couldn't escape, and in December 1988, that failure became impossible to ignore. Super Clash 3 was a desperate attempt by the AWA, CWA and World Class to compete with the WWF. All three promotions were dying, but this was supposed to be their rally cry, their version of WrestleMania. Kerry was scheduled to face Jerry Lawler in the main event. 4 years earlier, he'd won the NWA World Championship in front of 45,000 fans at the Texas Stadium, but now less than 2,000 people showed up. And according to Lawler, Kerry arrived backstage in no condition to perform. When his father needed him the most, Kerry couldn't even show up clean and sober. In 1990, World Class went out of business, and Kerry signed a contract with the WWF. Vince McMahon was looking for a successor to Hulk Hogan, and Kerry fit the prototype perfectly. He had the look, the body, and the charisma. At SummerSlam 1990, Kerry was chosen as a last-minute replacement for the injured Brutus Beefcake. He faced Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title, and he won. 1 month into his WWF career, and Kerry Von Erich was a champion on the national stage. Just 2 months after winning the title, in October 1990, Kerry was travelling to Fort Wayne, Indiana, with Bret Hart. In his book, Bret wrote, "Kerry was a big, handsome, well-built kid with a kind streak a mile wide, who wouldn't think twice about giving you the shirt off his back. I loved how genuine and considerate he was, especially to the fans." Unfortunately, like his brothers, Kerry had a history of drug problems and was often mistaken for a dolt by wrestlers who didn't know him well. Kerry and I talked on and on about our brothers and good times that we'd both had as famous families in such a strange business. On the ride, Kerry confided that he'd made up his mind to join his brothers in heaven. He was only waiting for God to tell him when. I said, Kerry, your children will always need you, even more than your brothers do. You have to think of your children. He allowed me to think that I'd made him change his mind, but I feared it was only lip service. In December 1990, Kerry lost the Intercontinental title back to Mr. Perfect before making his only WrestleMania appearance where he defeated Dino Bravo. Then in September 1991, his youngest brother Chris committed suicide. He was the third brother that Kerry had lost. As the year wore on, Kerry's push in the WWF started to fade. He lost matches to Ric Flair and was squashed by The Undertaker in under 4 minutes. At the same time, his personal life was collapsing. His marriage to his wife Catherine ended in divorce, and his painkiller addiction was now entering its peak phase. As his mental health continued to suffer, so did his reliability, and then he was released from the WWF. Kerry returned to Dallas and started working for the Global Wrestling Federation and other independent promotions. In early 1993, he was arrested on a drugs charge while already being on probation for another misdemeanor, and jail time was certain. Everything had finally got too much for Kerry. His addiction issues compounded the immense depression he felt for losing his wife, his brothers, and his job, and he certainly couldn't face the prospect of going to prison. The next day, he met his dad on his ranch, hugged him, told him he loved him, then walked into the woods and shot himself in the heart. His father was the one who found him, along with a note that said he was joining his brothers in heaven. What should have been a wrestling dynasty became a family destroyed by pressure, addiction, and impossible expectations. In many ways, Kerry had everything. He was a world-class athlete and an incredibly charismatic wrestler, but in the end, none of it could save him from himself.
The most underrated skincare hack, that hydrated skin starts in the shower. I'm partnering with Olay to show you my core step.
I'll be shaking out my ass.
In October 1990, Rick The Ultimate Warrior was one of the most recognisable stars of wrestling's golden era, remembered for his intensity and his larger-than-life persona, but he was also highly controversial, and those controversies followed him throughout his career, into retirement, and even beyond his death. From the very start, Warrior had a reputation for being careless in the ring, and his stiff wrestling style rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. Rick Rude was working with him in 1989, and every night he was growing more and more frustrated with Warrior's reckless style. After one match, he went backstage and punched Warrior in the face, knocking him out cold in order to teach him a lesson. The following year, Andre the Giant also reached his breaking point. During a house show match, Warrior came charging at him with a clothesline, but Andre didn't move. He just stuck out his fist, causing Warrior to run into it full speed, knocking him unconscious. Bobby Heenan famously managed Andre in the late 80s, and he confirmed that the story was true. But Bobby had his own problems with Warrior. Bobby had broken his neck in 1983 during a match in the AWA, and the injury never fully healed. All the way through his subsequent career, he made it clear to everyone not to grab him by the neck. It was during the match between Rick Rude and Warrior at WrestleMania 5, where Bobby was Rude's manager, that Warrior picked him up for a gorilla press and then dropped him hard. The impact aggravated Heenan's old neck injury, setting it back years, and Warrior never apologised or even acknowledged what he'd done. In shoot interviews later in his life, Bobby called Warrior careless, dangerous and selfish. In 2005, when Heenan was diagnosed with throat cancer, Warrior wrote a blog post mocking him. He called Bobby's illness karma and said not even Vince could have scripted a better ending. In early 1991, a kid with a terminal illness was brought backstage at a WWF show in Nebraska to meet his hero, the Ultimate Warrior. While other WWF superstars took the time to meet him, Warrior didn't seem to want to. When a staff member asked him whether he was ready, he snapped, "In a fucking minute, I'm busy." The boy was left waiting, and in the end, he never got to meet him. Bret Hart, who was there at the time, called it disgraceful and selfish, and said he never forgave Warrior for acting that way. Also an incident at an airport where a young kid approached him for an autograph, and Warrior told him to get lost. What he didn't realise was that the boy was the son of a TV executive, someone that WWF had a business relationship with. The company panicked, and Vince forced Warrior to record an apology video out of character. Vince had real trouble trying to get him to do it properly, and in the end, he stumbled through it. It's a moment that shows how difficult it must have been to manage him. In 1991, Warrior was booked in the SummerSlam main event. He believed at the time that Vince owed him money, and he was demanding equal pay to Hogan. A few weeks before the show, he sent Vince a letter demanding $550,000 and said that he wouldn't appear unless he got paid. Vince wrote back agreeing to the demand, but it was a short-term fix to keep the show together. So Warrior went out to work the match, but as soon as he came backstage, Vince handed him a suspension letter. Years later, the letters were leaked, and they reinforced Warrior's reputation as being volatile and difficult to work with. In the early 90s, the WWF was under investigation for steroid abuse. One of the doctors involved was George Zahorian, who had been supplying steroids to wrestlers, including the Warrior. A few months later, steroids and a syringe were discovered in a hotel room that he'd been staying in. After that discovery, Vince reportedly called Warrior at home, furious about the incident. He warned him that the steroid investigation had put the WWF under the spotlight, and he couldn't afford for situations like this to be happening. Soon after, fans noticed Warrior's shrinking physique, which sparked bizarre rumours that the real Warrior had died and been replaced. Then in 1992 he failed a drugs test, and that was the final straw for McMahon. He let him go from his contract soon after. Warrior believed that he'd been used as a scapegoat, fired only so Vince could prove that he was cleaning house. By 1996, the WWF's business was in the toilet. The new generation wasn't connecting with the fans, and WCW was gaining ground fast. And WCW had most of the WWF's golden era superstars under contract, apart from the Ultimate Warrior. So Vince brought him back, hoping to win back the fans who tuned out in the early 90s. He returned at WrestleMania 12, facing Triple H. The plan was for it to be somewhat competitive, but Warrior refused to sell any of Triple H's moves, and even popped right back up after the pedigree. The match lasted less than 2 minutes, and Vince was reportedly furious backstage. Multiple accounts from the time described Warrior as confrontational and difficult to work with during this period, even by his standards. He barely spoke to the other wrestlers backstage, and he acted like he was above the rest of the locker room, and then he just stopped bothering to show up for work. Warrior claimed that he needed time off after his father's death, but Vince didn't buy it. He said that he hadn't spoken to his
my
father
fucking
in
God,
over
how
a
did that
decade.
fizzle?
He was supposed to wrestle at
How did that
Impact
fizzle?
9,
How?
but was replaced by Psycho Sid, and not long after, Vince released him from his contract. In 1998, Eric Bischoff brought Warrior to WCW for a rematch with
Please.
Hogan. Bischoff thought
Yes.
that repeating the feud would draw big money.
Yes.
But this run was a disaster
Bitch.
from the start.
Got
He
your ass.
debuted on Nitro,
Hello.
cutting a rambling 20-minute
Yay.
promo where he went completely off script, and the fans soon went from excitement to total boredom. WCW presented him as a supernatural force. He would appear and disappear in clouds of smoke as if he could teleport, and he would show up behind mirrors for some reason. At the Fall Brawl pay-per-view, WCW installed a hidden trapdoor in the ring so Warrior could magically appear and disappear, but no one informed the other wrestlers that it was there, so when Davey Boy Smith landed on it during his match, he ended up seriously injuring his back. He was hospitalised and got a spinal infection, which then led to him getting addicted to painkillers. Sometime in 1998, Warrior was producing some promos at a recording studio alongside other WCW wrestlers, including Conan. During his interview, Warrior suddenly snapped, shouting at the production crew, and then he started ranting about Vince McMahon. Conan later said that the yelling was so loud that they could hear it through the soundproof walls. At Halloween Havoc, Warrior vs. Hogan 2 was a disaster. It was slow and awkward and full of botches. The whole thing was a mess, and it's still remembered as one of the worst pay-per-view main events in wrestling history. His contract ended soon after, and he never wrestled for a major promotion ever again. From that moment on, Hogan became a major target in Warrior's online hate-filled rants. In 2005,
Excuse me, can I have your attention, please?
No.
Buffalo Wild Wings Pick 6 for $19.99 is the perfect
No.
meal for two.
WWE released a DVD called The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. It was advertised as a look back at his career, but the actual content was really negative. Throughout the documentary, people like Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, Bobby Heenan and others made fun of Warrior's promos, his wrestling ability and his attitude backstage. There were almost no positive comments from anyone. The reason for them producing this goes back to a legal dispute between Warrior and the WWF in the year 2000. Warrior had sued them over the rights to his character, and in the settlement, both sides agreed to not publicly trash each other. But Warrior didn't stick to that agreement, and over the next few years, he publicly bashed WWE and insulted Vince McMahon in his online videos and blog posts. And so, WWE produced the DVD and trashed him in the process. After it came out, they invited Warrior to appear on their Bite This web show to tell his side of the story, but Warrior refused, and instead he posted a rant on his website calling host Todd Grisham a queer and calling paralysed wrestler Darren Drozdov the cripple. Warrior later tried to sue them over the DVD, but it was thrown out of court because Warrior had been trashing them long before it ever came out. By 2005, Warrior was trying to reinvent himself as a public speaker. He began appearing on US college campuses, mostly at conservative student events. He gave a speech at the University of Connecticut at an event that was organised by college Republicans, and it didn't take long for things to go off the rails. Warrior made several controversial comments, including the remark, "Queering doesn't make the world work," in reference to gay people. When a Muslim student challenged him during the Q&A session, he told her to go get a towel. The students quickly turned on him and started shouting him down. Campus security and local police had to step in to calm the situation down. After the event, the college Republicans issued a formal apology, claiming they had no idea that Warrior would say the things that he did. That same year, he wrote a blog post about Hurricane Katrina, blaming the victims, calling them unclean, and saying their lives were already ruined before the storm ever happened. Given that the majority of victims were black, many readers saw the post as being racially charged. After Heath Ledger's death in 2008, Warrior mocked him in a blog post, calling him a bad father and saying his daughter was better off without him. This only added to Warrior's growing reputation at the time for being nasty and vindictive. In 2013, WWE reached out to Warrior to fix their broken relationship. He accepted a Legends contract, which included being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He also appeared at WrestleMania and on Raw. It was his first time on WWE TV in nearly 20 years. They aired emotional backstage footage of him hugging Vince and making friends with Hogan, and they presented him as a misunderstood icon who had finally come full circle. They totally whitewashed his legacy. He passed away the day after his appearance on Raw.
Good.
Apparently a redeemed figure in the wrestling.
That's fucked up. They said he passed away. I said good. Motherfucker, I'm like, that's the thing. I do not. I don't like this nigga. That's mainly why I was dissing him even after he died back then. Cause he was doing it to other people, so I thought it was okay for me to do it to him.
The undisputed Chumba champion has arrived. Give me that tablet.
I'm gonna give up the Chumba belt that easy.
Kind of like the one Damien took from you.
Come on, Tiff. Whoa, chill, guys. Now that Chumba's on board, there's enough gold coins for everyone. Tiffy time never ends, huh?
Well, more Chumba time for me. Give Daddy those gold coins.
The undisputed Chumba champion has arrived.
It's 1996.
What the fuck? They played that
WCW
shit
is on
twice,
fire,
back to back.
The
What the fuck?
WWF is on life support, and nobody in charge seems to know what they're doing. Here's everything that went wrong that year in the World Wrestling Federation.
Wait, oh, I already... Did I?
Jim Cornette has one of the sharpest minds in wrestling.
Yeah.
And one of the sharpest tongues. He spent decades in the business, booking shows, managing talent, and falling out with plenty of people along the way. And sometimes those fallouts turn into full-blown feuds. In 2001, Cornette was running talent development in Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was the WWF's main developmental territory at the time. It was his job to train and prepare the next generation of superstars, and one of those future superstars was Brock Lesnar. But according to Cornette, Lesnar didn't show much respect to the people around him and carried himself like he was above the place. He went as far as to say that Brock was a bully to many of the staff working for OVW.
And see, we'd had problems with Brock. He was very respectful to me and to Danny Davis because we were his coaches, because he was one of these college jocks that had been, pushed through college because he was a major athlete and had always been catered to, but he would bully the referees, he'd bully the ring crew. He made one of our referees cry one time because because anybody that was a coach or had some standing, Brock would respect, but anybody that he felt was below him, the water boy on the team, you get the idea, college jock, he would fucking belittle and berate. And that, in addition to the fact that he was being paid 5 times as much as the other developmental guys, I expected more out of Brock.
Cornette's girlfriend, Stacy, was an on-screen manager at the time, and she often got involved physically during matches. Cornette booked a segment where Lesnar had to press slam Stacy. Stacy had recently gotten some new, intimate piercings, and she warned Lesnar not to grab her the wrong way.
Yeah, I know exactly what he meant when he said that she got some intimate piercings. I know what he means by that. Basically what Mr. Stunned by Wrestling is telling me is she basically got pussy piercings, which is an interesting choice. Yes, I got the Banshee, yay! I'm gonna be able to do a lot more damage now. Yay!
In the move, but according to Cornette, Lesnar spent the whole day joking that he was going to do it anyway. And when it came to actually doing the move, he did exactly that. He grabbed her between the legs and squeezed, causing her to scream out in pain. Backstage, she confronted him and they got into an argument, which led to Cornette getting involved and threatening to shoot him.
He's saying, oh, I didn't do it, I didn't mean to do it, I was just kidding, blah, blah, blah. And in the process, he says, F you to her in front of me. And that's where I had to say, look, motherfucker, you need to know this now. Don't say F you to her in front of me, because I won't fight you, I will shoot you. Because here's what he didn't realize, because he'd been protected and pampered and made over for so long, nobody is going to fight Brock Lesnar. If he mouths off and runs his dick liquor about people or two people or whatever.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I loved what he called him. He called his mouth a dick licker. That's funny. that's funny. Oh my god.
Nobody's going to fight him. They're just going to pull out a gun and fucking shoot him. He's a goddamn genetic fucking freak, and nobody's going to fight him. But if he said the wrong thing to the wrong person, they're going to fucking shoot him. And I don't care how tough he is, he ain't going to nip up after a fucking gunshot to the fucking head.
Not long after that incident,
that's true.
Lesnar left developmental, but Cornette has never had much good to say about the Beast incarnate in the years since.
There couldn't be any two people any more different than me and Brock Lesnar. I recognize his talent, and I recognize his athletic ability, but we used to call him Block Lesnar down here in OVW for a reason, because he's a meathead, and I don't like him as a person. Because he not only managed to piss off my referees, but my best friend and my wife, and he didn't fucking give his all and perform to the level that he was being paid at when he was a wrestling school student, and then actually... He got out of OVW 6 months early because he said that his girlfriend at home, who was not Sable, was pregnant and was going to have a baby, and he wanted to move back to Minneapolis, so he got out of the last 6 months of his fucking training before he started up there. And then all of a sudden, when he goes up there, instantly he's great, because now he's making more money, so he's really going to try. So I thought it was a slap in the face to all the guys that were making less than he was, and all the guys who were trying their hardest and didn't get a break that he got because of genetics and fucking fate.
Yeah.
Want it. Come on. Fate.
In 2005, WWE was testing out the Boogeyman character in OVW, seeing how the
He's
gimmick
asking
played
if I
out
feel
in front
pressure,
of a
man.
live
That's every
crowd
day.
before bringing it to national TV. As part of the act, Boogeyman would stalk around the ringside area, trying to scare the fans. One night, Cornette had selected a few developmental wrestlers to sit in the crowd and act terrified of.
Sosa.
Santino had only just arrived in OVW, and he was selected to be an audience member. But instead of looking terrified, Santino smiled and laughed.
He thought wrestling was a joke. He thinks wrestling's a joke and a fucking clown show and a comedy bus. And he had already been in the OVW class, but not long enough to know that we treated the business seriously down here. But he had been in promotions in Canada, and apparently they were all comedy promotions, and he thought this whole thing was a lark. And so he was laughing because the boogeyman was going to scare his daughter, and it was going to be fun. So anyway, we go to break, and I go back in the locker room, and I said, who is...
Well, here's the thing. I do have a lot of respect for Jim Cornette, but I ain't gonna lie. I feel like, honestly, I feel like he takes the business a little too seriously. That's one of the only problems I have with him, is I feel like he takes the business way too seriously. Shit. Another reason I'm not much of a fan of him is because he was trying to act like, cause he was trying to act like all deathmatch wrestlers suck. Which I don't at all agree with. That's how I know he doesn't really study that shit. That's how I know he really doesn't. Because there's quite a good number of guys that can actually wrestle. Yes, choose to wrestle on some really dangerous matches for the love of the game. A couple of examples: Masashi Takeda, he's really fucking good. Jun Kasai, he's really fucking good.
I'm thinking CCW, they will wrestle for the love of the game, even though they'll do the unthinkable and take a hit from a fucking weed whacker.
Shit, Nick Mondo was really good. It's just a shame that he retired. That he retired too soon. It's a shame.
Like CCW, we're doing it for the love of the game. Wrestling for the love of the game. Going for glass.
Thumbtack Jack was also really good. He was really underrated.
Supply with light tubes. Like literally slamming down on concrete blocks. Not just the usual thumbtacks.
Also, a lot of the Japanese guys from FMW and shit, they were also good. Mr. Hiro Masanaga, he was really good.
Like a CCW, you don't just see tables, chairs, ladders, some flames. Some office being put on fire, candlesticks, even a baseball bat or two.
I remember when Thumbtack and Drake Younger had like a saw death match. They're like using saw blades and like piles of needles and shit. It was pretty gnarly stuff. It was pretty gnarly stuff.
And the stackfuls. Platform match, like stacked platforms and falling on the ground from glass and hearing the ever famous CCW air horn.
Fun fact: Cody actually got me into death matches.
Oh shit!
Cause one day he was like, shit, I got something I want to show you. Watch this shit. And I watched it, and it was pretty interesting. So later on, I just kept on watching more and more matches. And then I started to kind of fall in love with it. But the thing is, I'm kind of specific for what kind of death matches. I don't just want to watch a death match where there's like little to no wrestling. Because wrestling is in deathmatch wrestling. The word wrestling is in the name. You know, like I'm not asking for like Brett versus Owen if like they had a death match. That's not what I'm asking for, but like give me something. Give me something. Shit, I would even say even wrestlers like even like Wife Beater. Yeah, that was really his wrestling name. Don't ask me why. It's just something he just came up with, and then he just rolled with it. But I wouldn't say he was good, but he was actually decent. Like he could actually work decently. He could actually work. Yeah, he kind of had a limited move set, but I mean shit. But I mean he was a big guy. He was like 6'3", 6'4". So like no one was really expecting him to do high flying moves and shit. Or like do like chain wrestling or like submission wrestling. No one was really expecting that from him. But shit. But he was decent in the ring, he was just limited. But he compensated that with being as tough as nails. Like shit, I remember when fucking Wife Beater and Zandig had a fucking death match at the ECW arena. That shit was crazy. That shit was crazy. And like something I like about deathmatch wrestling is that deathmatch wrestling is a lot less scripted. Like shit, a lot of the time you'll get full on brawls between. A lot of the time you'll get fucking. A lot of the time you will get like a full on brawl between both opponents. But yeah, Cody was talking about like someone getting hit with a weed whacker. That actually happened. Nick Mondo wasn't the only one. Xander got hit with that shit too. And like the Pennsylvania sports, the athletic commissioner, he literally stormed down to the ring and he's like, "It's over, it's over." And then Xander's like, "No." He's like, "It's done, it's done." And he's like, "No." That man wanted to keep going. Yes. I have seen that match. That match was so confusing. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? I'll give them that. They can in fact wrestle. I'll give them that. Oh yes, layers of yes, I actually have help. Cause I tried to do the layer of IS Maximus by myself and I was getting my ass whooped. Come on, yo. Yes. Okay. Sosa. Like, I don't know. I fucking love that ad-lib. That shit goes hard. Bro, oh my god, get this nigga. Cause my first attack fucking fizzled. Get him. I have to wait on other players. Of course his shit doesn't fizzle. Okay. Don't fucking fizzle. Yes. Get that bitch. Damn, that man got fucking shocked right in his fucking balls. How did that not hurt him, though? How did that not hurt him? The same way Pokemon, where his creature is taking the brunt of the impact, he was. How did that shit not hurt him? Did this man not have testicles? What the fuck, man? Don't worry, we got this. We got this, ma'am. Oh, you have got to be fucking kidding me. This shit fizzled. What? There's no way it actually fizzled. Go fuck yourself. Actually, go fuck yourself. No way. Yes! His shit fizzled. Let's fucking go. Oh no. Please! Yes. What the fuck just happened? Nah, I'm getting this Ius Maximus. I'm getting this bitch. Woo! That only did 10 damage. There's fucking snakes in here trying to mow the club.
Guy. And somebody said he's a member of the amateur class. I said, bring him to me. So
I'm gonna have to send you some death matches. I might have to send you some. Them shits are wild. They're wild, but they're entertaining. Especially if you're a fan of violence. Yes.
all the boys are standing around to see what's going to happen because they know what's going to happen. And the boogeyman is right there over my shoulder. And this fucking clown, this little midget, who's about 5'5" if I'm 6 feet tall, because I'm looking down at him. And he's supposed to be a big-time shooter. He's a legitimate shooter guy. Well, he might be and he might not be. I know that he was telling the guys in the amateur class that he was such a shooter, and basically big dogging him. So anyway, they bring him in, and I go, why didn't you run from the boogeyman? He said something, but he was mumbling, and I got the bad ear, so I said, what? And he said, nobody told me I should run from him. Now, at that moment, and I gotta be honest, I might not have should have slapped him. So, when he said nobody told me, I responded by saying, well, did I tell you I was going to do this? And I slapped the shit out of him.
Jim also later claimed that WWE only hired Santino in order to avoid a potential lawsuit. He went on to say that he didn't belong in the wrestling business and mocked his comedy gimmick and said that he never earned his spot. In 2017, both Santino and Cornette were booked to appear at a wrestling convention in Detroit. Santino saw it as a chance to finally clear the air, but Cornette...
We have always gone our own way with herbs. That's nature's way. Uncompromising.
Yay!
The way we test and test and test.
To finally clear the air, but Cornette wasn't having any of it. He went off on him, said that he still didn't respect him and still saw him as a joke. The argument escalated to the point where security had to step in and kick them out of the venue. Before he was in ECW, New Jack was part of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. This was a regional promotion that Cornette owned and operated in the early 90s. He first saw New Jack on the indie circuit and thought he was one of the best talkers he'd ever seen, and so he started booking him. The situation became unworkable, so he gave them their notice and tried to get them work elsewhere. But nobody wanted to take them, apart from Paul Heyman, who thought they would be a perfect fit for ECW. It was agreed between Heyman and Cornette that the Gangsters would finish their remaining dates in Smoky Mountain before moving on to ECW. But Paul ended up double-crossing him. He told New Jack and Mustafa to forget about SMW.
That's the last time I ever saw them until they walked in on me in the deal, you know. But then New Jack started cutting promos on me on ECW television. And I was hot at him because I gave him a chance. I put him in the ring with The Undertaker. I put him in the ring with a lot of top guys. I gave him the biggest payoffs that they'd ever had in the business. More than $100 a night for the big shows. But at the same time, I was hot at Paul Lee because why is he working this f***ing angle? And ECW and Smoky Mountain are never going to have anything going on because it wouldn't work. We're not going to do an invasion angle, nor are they coming down here. Two different styles, two different territories. What the fuck? Why? It just Paul Lee was getting jollies from letting the guy knock me. But the problem is Paul is a pathological liar, and I said at the time he'd rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. And he hated that, but it's true. Candido and Tammy went in the hole financially on his say-so. A lot of guys did. He fucked up a lot of people's lives with not just telling them the truth.
In the late 2000s, Cornette was running the creative side of Ring of Honor, and Kevin Owens was working there under the name Kevin Steen. Cornette reckoned...
I'll be back, bro. I gotta go check on the laundry again.
For sure.
Life. So, yeah, I've been playing this for long enough. I think I'm gonna end the stream now. Cause I've been streaming from these like 2 sections. I've probably been streaming for over 5 hours. So I think I'm done for now. But yeah, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. Thank y'all for coming. I really appreciate it. Yes, yes. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. Y'all can do anything y'all put your minds to. I believe in you. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all in the next video or stream or whatever. Love y'all. Peace. Later.